Assalamu alaikum. Today's tutorial is going to be slightly different. This is going to be about a board game called Catan. First, I'm going to tell you why this tutorial is important. Normally, what we end up playing as board games is games like Ludo, Monopoly, or Snakes and Ladders. And those games don't actually teach you much about the world. Monopoly, maybe, but all of these games are mostly luck-based games. All board games would be luck-based, but there are many other things that board games can teach us as adults, as well as, more importantly, for kids. And Catan is one of those games that I highly recommend that you buy. There are even some print-to-play editions available around the web where you can print these, play around. If you like them, then you can go ahead and buy the full version as well from any of the stores available. I will try to keep some links down in the description of this video that in case you like this game, you can buy it and support the developers as well. So Catan is a board game which actually is about trading. So you trade things with other players, with the bank, and try to make more and more properties, or settlements as the game calls it, settlements to earn a certain victory points, and whoever reaches 10 victory points first wins the game. But during the course of that game, you learn many important skills which none of the other games are going to teach you. So for example, a Snakes and Ladder game, the only thing that game can teach you is that life can be cruel. Nothing other than that. So that's why I highly recommend getting this game and learning some of the skills while having fun with your family as well as with your friends. So I will now get started with explaining quickly how to play this game and what kind of skills will you be learning while playing it. Let's get started. So this is how the game is set up. One thing you will notice is the board is made up of these hexagon tiles. The reason why it's not a standardized board but hexagon tiles is so that whenever you are setting up the board, you can mix and match these tiles, and every time you get a different kind of flavor of the game or different kind of logic that you might have to apply. Second thing, while setting up the board is you will see these numbers. Again, these are number tokens which you can randomly spread across your board. The reason being to add randomization to your game. In the instructions that you will get for your game, there will be a preferred board setup as well as the numbering for these number coins, but you can always randomize it to start the game. Now, let me explain what you're going to do. So basically, what you're going to do, each player will have these kind of pegs. These house type pegs are the settlements, which you're going to place on the intersection of these tiles. And these long wooden sticks are the roads to represent roads in between two settlements. So let's start how we are going to play this game. On these tiles, different kind of resources are being represented. So trees are of course trees, and there are resource cards that come with it. So from trees you can obtain wood. The second type of resource is these meadows. From meadows you can get wool because your lambs can live here. From mountains you can get ore kind of resource, ores. Then you can get bricks, and from yellow you can get wheat. So these are the 5 resource types that you can get from different kind of fields. When you start the game, so the first player, you can roll a dice to decide who gets to start first. The first player gets to decide where he needs to place a settlement. So let's say I am the first player, and what I will decide is based on the numbers and the type of resource, I can decide that where I want to place my first tile. The first logical decision that everyone will get to learn is the probabilistic factor. So under these tiles, there are different dots given. The more the number of dots, that means the more probability of this resource being produced. So for example, a 2 has just 1 dot, which means it has the least probability of producing a resource or coming on a dice, because these numbers represent the numbers that can come as a combination of your dice throws. So for a 2, the only possible combination is 1 plus 1, and that's a rare combination that can happen. Same is the case for number 12. But there are other numbers like 8 and 6 for which there is a high probability that a dice throw can actually do it. So that's how you decide. The first player decides that where he wants to place this based on the probability of the dice throw, that what can give me more resources. So let's say I decide that I'm going to place my first house here, and also I get to place a free road with it. I'll come to explanation of roads later, that why those roads are important. But now, then the second player comes, and then he decides that where he wants to place his. Let's say he decides he wants to place here, and he places a road. I'm just going to show you a sample for 2 players. So if the red one is the last player, then he gets to put one more before the blue one, before the turn comes back, and then he can decide again that where he wants to place this. Let's say he this time decides he wants to place this here and another road. Now the turn goes back to the blue one, and he decides one more time the last settlement that he wants to place is, let's say, here, and he wants to connect this. So this is the first setup, that initially you decide 2 settlements that where you're going to place, and based on the last settlement placed, which in this case were these 2, the players will get their first resource card. So the red player is going to get 1 ore, 1 wood, and 1 wool. So he's going to take these, and these will go to the red player, and he's going to then hide them. Of course, the players will be able to see while he's trading, but later on it's better to hide your resource cards, that who has what resources. The blue player is going to get a wood, a wheat, and an ore, so he's going to take those cards. Once this initial setup has happened, the next thing is going to be your regular turns. For your regular turns, you're going to throw a dice. Each player turn by turn will throw a dice, and the number on the dice is going to determine that which of these properties is going to generate some resource. So this number is 5. So 5 is available. Every number is available 2 times on the board except 2 and 12. So number 5 is going to produce wheat, and here it's going to produce wood. But there is no settlement on the corners of this property, so this resource goes to no one, whereas the red one gets an additional wood card. And this is how you take turns by turn and earn some resources. But one of the things that will always happen is that not everyone is going to earn all the required resources to progress in the game, and that's where the trading factor comes in, that people have to make logical decisions on how to trade for resources. Now first I will explain why you want to trade. Each of these settlements is going to give you 1 point. So red has right now 2 points, and your main objective in the end is that you have 10 points in the game, and then you are declared the winner of that game. So the first player who reaches 10 is the winner. And to make these properties, there is a building cost card. So this reference card is available to every player, which is going to tell you that to build a road, you need 1 wood, 1 brick. And that gives you a road, but it has 0 victory points. A settlement, which is these, can be made for a wood, brick, wheat, and wool. And this gives you a settlement, and each settlement is equal to 1 victory point. Then you can upgrade any settlement to this shape, which is a city. To upgrade a settlement to a city, you need 2 wheat and 3 ores. Development card I will come to later, but my objective is going to be that I trade either with the players or with the bank to actually build roads, and wherever I build roads, only on those locations I can set up my settlement. And a settlement can never exist right next to an existing settlement. So in this case, if I have already built this road and my settlement is here, so this area nobody can build a settlement, but somebody or myself can build a settlement here as long as the road is reaching here. So I pay the required resources, and then I place my settlement back to the bank, and I place my settlement here. Now, to get those required resources, there are two ways of trading. The most beneficial, and that's where you learn the skill about trading as well, that you can always trade with the bank. But the bank trading, as in real life, will always be the most uneconomical.